My days usually start around 9:30. I check my emails, check my messages, make sure I'm up to date on everything. I have a daily meeting with my team at 10 o'clock. We discuss what work we've been doing, what work we're going to do, and make sure we have no blockers or issues. Some days are more meeting heavy than others. These meetings might include defining future work, reflecting on past work, on how we can do better, one-on-ones with my manager, or one-on-ones with my coworkers, just to work through any issues we might be having together. Otherwise, I am click-clacking on my keyboard, working on the next new feature, or addressing any bugs that might have popped up. I do make it a point to take breaks throughout the day. It really helps reset my mind, keep my productivity high. In the office, this included grabbing a coworker, taking a walk around the building, going to get coffee, going to get a sweet treat. At home, this involves playing with my dog, Bear, or just walking away from the laptop to not stare at a screen all day.
Well, I really enjoy working at VRBO. I started out here over 1.5 years ago. I had just had a baby and was done with maternity leave at my old job and decided I didn't really want to go back to that one. So I started looking for new jobs and came across VRBO. I'd heard good things. It's a big employer here in Austin, so I'd heard lots of good things about it and applied and got it. I've really liked it because I think it's a pretty inclusive, they try to be very inclusive environment. If there are any problems, people are willing to help. Like if you have personal problems, people are willing to help. There's not a lot of this, grinding culture where you have to work 60 hours a week. There's a good focus on work-life balance, which is really important to me. A typical work day for me is lots and lots of Slack messages. Slack is a messaging platform that we use, so lots of that. Usually 1 or 2 meetings to discuss priorities or how to approach a problem, and then the rest of the day is spent working on my own projects, writing code, writing algorithms, training models to make predictions on different types of text, or evaluating data, analyzing new data, etc.
Working at VRBO has been great. I really enjoy it. I think the people that I work with specifically are diverse and have a lot of different experiences that sort of mesh well together, and I find it to be a very, very good environment to learn from because I work with such smart people. I generally think they're smarter than me. Most of the time they are, and I think me personally, I strive on following examples from people I respect, and I respect a lot of people that I work with, everybody that I work with. A typical day for me would be, wake up around 7:30, take my dog out for a walk, make some coffee, and then I'm online around 9 or 9:30 to get ready for my 10 a.m. meeting, which happens daily, and then I have various meetings throughout the week, reoccurring, but generally after 10 I'm just at work until lunch, and then I work until about 5:30 or 6, doing a lot of coding, a lot of emails, documentation, communication, just stuff like that, just kind of keeping busy and keeping the communication going, because now more than ever, being remote 100% of the time, it's important to communicate to stakeholders and team members sort of what's going on. So it looks like you're actually working because you are, and B, it keeps other people informed and not sort of assuming the other side. So that's important.
Working at VRBO is really exciting, it's fun, and it's also very challenging. I'm very fortunate to work with a lot of talented engineers in the company. Ever since I've joined two years ago, I feel like my development skills have grown so much, and I'm very thankful for that. They use cutting edge technology, and they're always on top of performing like the rest of the other tech companies in the industry. So I I also like that it's a travel company. I love to travel, and the fact that I'm working for a travel company is really awesome. And I'm very passionate about the product that we are creating. It helps people travel, and it also gives an opportunity to search for homes that they and their families want to travel and go to. Um, a typical day for me is in the mornings. I like to get my coffee. I like to enjoy some of the breakfast that they provide, and then I go to my stand-up meetings. So these meetings are just our status updates on what we're working on and what goals we want to accomplish in the day. And then for the rest of the day, I have usually one or two small meetings, and I get to spend the rest of the day learning about my current development toolset like React, GraphQL, and other JavaScript tools, and also work on the actual product that we have to deliver. So to me, that's a really nice work day, and it's very flexible. So I can go on breaks and I can go on other meetings that I'm interested in attending.
All right. Hi, my name is Carl Pratt. I'm the Senior Engineering Manager for the Reservation Manager team at VRBO. I started my career in 2013 with my first internship at VRBO, and then a second one again in 2014, and finally full-time in 2015. The content of my typical day at VRBO has shifted pretty drastically over my 5-year career here. When I started, I spent about 95% of my time problem solving, writing code. Nowadays, I'm spending a little bit more time in meetings, solving larger problems in a different way. But I still make time to write code for at least 30 minutes every day.
So working for VRBO is a ton of fun. Something that was really important to me when I graduated college was staying in Austin. And so VRBO was like the perfect opportunity to be able to work at this place that has really like cutting edge technology, and where I knew I was going to be able to continue to grow and learn, but also stay in the location I wanted to be in. It's also a ton of fun working for a travel company. I really love traveling personally, and we get a lot of really cool benefits and opportunities to travel. What a typical workday looks like for me: I wake up and I go make my coffee, and then I go on my very short commute to the office because we're working from home, so it's about 20 feet from the kitchen to my desk. And then I log on, I do a little bit of work, and then every morning we have a stand-up meeting, which is just an opportunity for everyone on the team to give like a status update on what we're working on and what we plan to accomplish for the day, and just kind of sync up and ask each other any questions. Like if my work depended on someone else's work, I could ask them a question about it. And then I go back to work and coding and talking with people and communicating with my teammates. And then around 12 o'clock, I take my lunch break, go watch some TV. Breaks are very important, so I try and take an ample amount, not too many, but a good amount. And then I come back to my desk after lunch, do some more work. Occasionally I'll have like one or two small meetings throughout the day, or lately we've been doing a lot of virtual happy hours to socialize with our coworkers when we can't go in the office. So do some of those in the afternoons and then sign off around 5 or 5:30.
As a programmer, I work with many cross-functional teams such as sales, such as marketing, engineering, product marketing, leadership teams, focused on an objective that each one of those different functional teams has a part to play in to make sure that we can deliver quality products to our industry. And by that, I'm meaning our travelers that are looking for absolutely fantastic vacations, and then our partners, they're the ones that actually own those vacation rentals or different homes, apartments, or whatever it may be, to get them to focus on the place that the travelers will live in for a very short period of time. So what is my life like on a daily basis? I work with many different teams in different aspects. So one day I could be working with the engineering team to see how they are, where are they in getting that product delivered. Other days I'm working with the product team to sit down where we're writing on a whiteboard to figure out what we should be delivering to our marketplace so that we can be more effective, and allowing our travelers to live their dreams as far as vacations are concerned. The next day I might be working with our product marketing team, which is how we're going to get this out to the market. How are we going to, whatever vehicle that might be, so that we can ensure that our travelers and our partners know what we are delivering and why and what it can do for them. So it's a very, very rewarding job. It is a job that I've been doing now for several years, and I've worked multiple products, programs, and projects so that we can have what we need to be successful in this marketplace.
I actually decided to pursue computer science because of First Bites, one of the camps UT puts on in the summer, introducing computer science to high schoolers. It really showed me how versatile the industry was and how there are so many opportunities in computer science.
I decided to go into computer science because I really like using my mind and thinking creatively, and I think that computer science is awesome because it lets you do both of those things and be fairly well guaranteed a job doing so. I know usually you don't think about creativity when it comes to computer science, but I think there's always so many different ways of implementing something, or like so many different architectural designs. And the creative way is coming up with a way that, creativity comes from taking into account what the product managers want and how much it'll actually cost to build and how long it'll take to build, and coming up with the best solution based off of all that. So that's fun, and that's why I like it.
The reason I decided to get into STEM or computer science is because I've always kind of found myself to be a pretty technical person. I always really liked, kind of messing around on MySpace back in the day, trying to figure out how to make it like super custom and minimalist before that was even really the thing. It was just sort of my aesthetic and what I wanted to do. So I'd be looking at a bunch of blogs and YouTube videos on how to, and sort of trying to figure it out, and not really knowing what I was doing. I was just copying and pasting and hitting run to see what worked and what didn't, and I would spend hours doing that. So I kind of just have always sort of had that curiosity inside me, and I decided to try to grow that curiosity eventually later in life by taking some online classes and classes offered by the community college to kind of learn more modern approaches to web design and tech in general. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. Kind of unconventional, but has just sort of always been an interest of mine throughout my life.
Let me tell you a little bit about myself and how I got interested in and involved in STEM. When I graduated from high school in Orlando, Florida, I went to Florida A&M University where I majored in computer science. While I was there, I had an internship with the Pontiac division of General Motors. That allowed me to have my first real exposure of what it is to live and to work in a technical environment with other programmers and software engineers. So I absolutely loved it. So when I got out of college, I went to work for IBM in Houston, Texas, as a software engineer. I did that for many years before I started to get into more leadership type roles, and one of those roles was to work with a team that we focused on making our other technical teams more productive by introducing new tools and technologies. After that, I worked with a couple of additional technical companies and ended up with the best one ever, which is Expedia VRBO.
So ever since I was little, I always liked math and science, and I felt that I was pretty good at those subjects, but I didn't really know about STEM, engineering, or computer science when I was in high school. Until a high school counselor reached out to me, and she recommended that I go to a summer camp at UT. And then when I attended that camp at UT, I was about 16 years old, and I met students that were majoring in engineering. And the engineering discipline that stood out to me was computer engineering, just because I thought computers were fascinating and I wanted to learn more about how they worked. So when I was 18, I went to UT, and I was really interested in the major. And so I landed my first internship when I was 18, and they flew me out to San Diego to work for Qualcomm. And then that's when I worked on my first web application. and I thought it was really cool using HTML, CSS, JavaScript to create a functional website for the engineering team that I was on, and therefore since then I've always wanted to be working with computers and programming. I just thought it's very fun, and I also get paid to do that, so I thought it was a win-win for me. But I feel like as a Latina and as a minority, there's not a lot of us, so I would encourage you all to look into it, and hopefully it also interests you.
I decided to go into computer sciences because I love problem solving. And I found computer science to be a pretty good outlet for that. I was raised on a farm where we sort of did everything the old-fashioned way. So right from the start, I was sort of wired to simplify and optimize, which are both skills you use pretty regularly as an engineer.
So I started off in a non-technical path. I was a Plan 2 major at UT, which is a liberal arts major. After that, I got a job doing technical support in Wisconsin, and that's where I started taking actual computer science classes, and I did the professional capstone certificate program at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and then I went to graduate school at UT for computer science. You definitely don't have to have a major in computer science to work in STEM, certainly in STEM as a whole, and even in software engineering paths. I think it helps to know your data structures and algorithms, but I know a lot of people that have learned it just by teaching themselves, or have gotten into it because they were a chemistry major and just needed to write some scripts to help with their papers and things. It's nice because computer science overlaps with so many other fields that you can apply computer science to what you're interested in, and usually there's something cool that comes out of that.
The question is, do you come from a non-technical background? And yeah, in my case, I do. I do not come from a typical background. I've always sort of been technical in life. I've enjoyed things, understanding things, how they work, how I can get something to work, for instance, photography, or even way back in the day, some HTML and CSS on MySpace. I was always really into sort of figuring those things out, or watching tutorials or reading tutorials and understanding how people got, from A to B, and applying that same kind of solution to my problem, which translates very well in this field of being an engineer. I think by not having a technical background, it's impacted my role in my career positively more than negatively. I think because you're able to sort of have that perspective or outside opinion that you formed in my case, in my past lives as a photographer or whatever, fill in the blank. You're able to sort of see the bigger picture sometimes that other engineers or technical people might not be so keen on seeing. And so being able to offer that perspective has been a major plus in my situation. I know several people who are engineers now, and they did not have a major in computer science. They may have learned it here and there in some capacity, but there are several people who I work with who are business majors, or have no college, or have little college, or maybe partially completed. There's all sorts of ways to get into this. There's not one right way and one wrong way. It's just a matter of whichever path you're able to pave and go down yourself. There are a lot of options, and I, for one, an example of that, I kind of am self-taught, but also taught through a program at VRBO. They were able to sort of select a few people from different departments and teach them enough technical skills to get an internship that then eventually would lead to a position, which is what happened in my case. So so you don't have to have a major in STEM related. It definitely helps. It definitely gets your foot in the door at a lot of places a lot quicker. But is it required 100% of the time? No. And like I said, I'm an example of that. So, yeah.
I come from a non-technical background. I studied linguistics in my undergraduate and graduate degrees. Linguistics is the study of language, kind of like how chemistry is studying the building blocks of life. Linguistics is studying the building blocks of language. So we studied syntax, semantics, how languages are different and the same all over the world. It was really fun. And I didn't think I would ever go into computer science at all. At all. I took a computer science 101 class in my undergraduate degree, and I hated it completely. Most days when I did homework ended in tears because it was horrible. But it turned out that after that, I didn't touch a computer. Well, of course I did touch a computer, but I didn't program anything for a few years until I needed to do statistics. And then I got a job where they were looking for a linguist, and they said they would teach me how to program at the same time, which they did, and it was so much better to actually work on something where the point wasn't these weird computer science problems, like what's the big O notation for this algorithm or something like that. But they were very concrete problems that we had to solve, like search through this list of words to find this one type of word or something like that. So it was things that were very directly related to what I was interested in, and that made it all much more fun, although still difficult, much more fun to do. So it's all to say, you don't need to major in computer science to work in STEM. In fact, it's really good to, even if you do want to major in computer science, to continue taking courses that are completely unrelated, to be a well-rounded person and understand different perspectives. Studying linguistics helped me, I think, with communication, with writing, and with writing good code, probably. Just clear code. You can ask my colleagues if that's true or not. But I don't think it's definitely not necessary to major in computer science to work in STEM, to work in the tech field, but it is important to understand computers, of course.
Hello folks, Trent here. I would fall into the category of non-traditional. I am 40 years old and I'm an associate software engineer at VRBO. I just started my career. I landed my first job as an engineer last year. So I've been in it for a little over a year. So a couple of things about me. I studied anthropology and history in college and didn't have any idea what the word JavaScript even meant until about 6 years ago. Traveled after college and then eventually set my sights towards working at a good company. VRBO fit the bill, so I did all I could to find a job. I've gone through a couple of roles, all of which I really loved, but I developed an interest in learning to be an engineer while working at a tech company, so I started. And it's been a long path. It's been a lot of hard work. It's difficult when you don't formally get trained, but it also comes with some advantages. So those are what I wanted to talk about. You get perspective, you get company perspective. Working in different roles at the company allows you to develop a better understanding of the product, which allows you to provide good feedback to your teams when they're developing their products and looking for ways of making it better. And I think also, if you're not studying to be an engineer in college, one of the bigger, kind of more abstract things that I think is cool about it is that you're not going to be as narrow in your specialties. So One thing I really value is just trying not to be too much of a specialist in life.
So I interned at VRBO back in 2017, which seems like a long time ago. But it was right after my junior year of college. So it was a summer internship that lasted about 3 months. And as interns, actually, for our first 2 weeks right after we started, we were in a all-day training program. Back then it was called HomeAway University because the company was called HomeAway then. And it was basically a classroom setting where we got presentations from full-time like HomeAway engineers and designers or product people that basically just taught us how to be a successful engineer at HomeAway. And that was really nice because I was kind of scared of just being like thrown into the deep end and having to figure things out on my own. But there was really this nice environment that fostered learning and growth for the interns, and there was never too much like pressure placed on us. And then after those 2 weeks of HomeAway University, we were assigned to our teams for the summer and given our projects. So every intern basically has a project, or they're just integrated with a team and they work just on that team's feature or product. And so my experience was kind of unique in that it was me and one other intern who were placed on the same team in the same project. So we got to do basically a partner project, which was super fun, and we got to collaborate a lot. And that's my kind of favorite type of coding, is when I get to work with another person. We get to bounce ideas off of each other. And so after the 3 months, we did a presentation on our project at the end of the summer to most of the company, and got to show off what we worked on.
I interned at VRBO, then known as HomeAway, in the summer of 2017, my junior year in college, and it was an amazing experience. The first 2 weeks, all the interns trained together. We had presentations from employees throughout the company about the technology, the tech stack, company history, company culture. We also had 2 senior engineers lead us for the whole 2 weeks on mini projects to get us comfortable with the tech stack. Afterwards, we were all assigned to different teams and given projects to work throughout the summer. And at the end, we had a presentation to demo what we've been working on and showcase to the rest of the company. I really believe that internships are so important because it really allows students to figure out how a company operates, company culture, and if it's the right fit for them to start their career at. And from my internship at VRBO, it really showed me that VRBO Expedia really cares about fostering talent, about learning, about giving you many opportunities to grow not only as an employee and grow your career, but as a person.
I interned twice at VRBO, back when we were called HomeAway. Once in 2013, where I wrote the pilot program for instant booking, and once again in 2014, where I helped launch Reservation Manager V2, which is the tool that partners use to manage their bookings. But I was really sold on VRBO after my first internship. I was just so impressed with the quality of the people that I got to work with. I really think I learned more in that first summer than I did throughout most of my college classes.